So why did Poilievre lose his home riding of Ottawa Carleton in the recent federal election? It's time to talk about the leader of the Conservative Party, his lack of a seat in Parliament, why it happened, and what's next for him. I'm Steve Sanford. You're watching Dominion Report. Now, before anybody accuses me of ignoring the change in the structure of the Carleton riding that was made by Elections Canada prior to the election, I have a separate video discussing that. I'll add a link in the comments below so that you can check it out for yourself. But, spoiler alert, that change in the riding structure should not have caused Poilievre to lose his seat. So with that aside, in the recent election, the Conservative Party increased their national vote. They increased that share from 32% to 41%. They also increased their seats in Parliament from 121 to 144. Now, historically, those are staggeringly huge increases, and in a normal election cycle, those numbers would certainly result in a strong majority government. This is not a normal election cycle. So party leaders always choose safe ridings to run in themselves. This is so that they can have a virtual guaranteed seat in Parliament, and so they can be Prime Minister if their party wins. So why, when the Conservatives gained so much ground, did their leader lose his seat, one that he had held for over 2 decades? Poilievre has been criticized for not standing against the tariffs and not standing against the threats of annexation from Donald Trump. Now, he did make a few comments about it, but many people did not see that as robust condemnation and did not see it as vociferous defense of Canada. But that issue alone shouldn't have caused him to lose his riding. Remember that, despite that, the party still gained in national vote share and in seats. Let's take a look at some pre-election polling. Even though I generally disregard polling, it turned out, in hindsight, this time around, to be reasonably accurate. The Conservative Party was polling just at not quite 40% in most polls prior to voting day. Poilievre's own ratings lagged behind those of his party. He was polling in the low 30s, so that could be part of it. But, in my opinion, there are 2 much bigger reasons that he lost his own riding. Both of them, I would suggest, should call into question his strategic political thinking. Now, before I go into these, I'm going to remind you that I'm looking at this from a strategic lens. I'm not commenting on the pros and cons of the associated issues. So bear that in mind when you put your comments down below. Okay, so what are the 2 things? First, he ran in a riding that has a high percentage of federal employees, while simultaneously campaigning to reduce the size of the federal government. People generally aren't usually in the habit of knowingly voting to slash their own jobs. Secondly, he supported the truck convoy protests in 2022. He actually took coffee and donuts and distributed it amongst the protesters for a photo op. Those protests significantly disrupted the residents of the Carleton riding, and they were probably upset. Now, we can assume that Poilievre was trying to appeal to MAGA-type Canadian voters and to try and keep them under the blue tent. That probably also explains why he didn't call out Trump on the tariffs and on the annexation talk with very much vigor at all. What he probably didn't realize is that the Venn diagram of Canadian MAGA types and of conservatives who actually vote probably has a pretty small overlap. So for those 2 reasons, federal employees who vote, who live in his riding and vote, and support of the truck protests. And I'll repeat, this is regardless of how you feel about reducing government size and how you feel about the truck protests, the truck convoy protests. So those two issues, to me, represent a colossal failure in political strategy. Frankly, he probably deserved to lose his seat. Now, I'm not in charge of the Conservative Party of Canada. If I was, I would be advocating for his resignation as leader. So if you happen to be watching this, CPC leadership, take note. In the meantime, stay calm, stay strong, and elbows up.